You're very vulnerable. And as I was sitting here, I was thinking about when did that song play? When did that come out? And most of you don't know this about me. So here's a reveal that I was a recipient of a $10,000 Women Owned Business Owner grant when that song came out. Yeah. And I was thinking about the process of doing that, because when you do something that's that open, that vulnerable, we had to do a presentation, and the presentation was only 5 minutes long. I mean, it was like fast. So you had to do the application, then you had to do the presentation, then you just didn't know what would happen. And I mean, we nailed the presentation. It was like you walk out of there and you knew you got it. You knew you were there. But there were 100 other women-owned businesses in San Diego, and in fact, that's the only business, the only award that I'm aware of that they ever gave out was the one that we received. And anyway, it took me all the way back there. It was a long time ago, really long time ago. But you know, I want us to look at vulnerability as something different today. I want you to look at it as though it were a superpower. Now, how do you go from here to there? When we really understand what vulnerability is, whether it's ourself or it's someone else, there's something that happens. Think about it. There's an opening that happens. There's a shift that happens. There's an awareness that happens. And as a result of that, healing happens. So if you know that vulnerability equals healing, you're more welcoming to that idea. Otherwise, it's a pushback. Oh, I'm not going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to do that. But when we really realize that it's the healing power behind the whole process, now it's open. Now we're open. And in fact, I wrote it down. It's not a bad word. Because sometimes we think it's a bad word to be vulnerable. But I want you to go back in your mind and think, when was it either I was the last time I was vulnerable, or someone I knew was vulnerable? And there was this, I don't know how to describe it, but it feels like a lull that happened. It just shifts completely, and you don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to force it. You don't have to make it happen. You are just there with it. And there's a calm peacefulness. And actually what happens is our heart's open. There's a compassionate feeling that takes over. Madeline Engel, I hope I said her name right, said this. She said, when we were children, we used to think that when we were grown up, we would no longer be vulnerable. But to grow up is to accept vulnerability. To be alive is to be vulnerable. So, and that's not to necessarily be vulnerable every single place you go. It's when it makes sense, right? Because sometimes you do have to stand on your 2 feet and say what you need to say. The thing about vulnerability is that it causes us to reflect. It causes us to look inside. It causes us to allow things to unfold. And it causes an opening for everybody. But it's an important part of who we are. And so you're going to hear a lot about this, because I want you to really get it today, that the world right now is very vulnerable. You sang about chasing. I feel like all I do is chase the next thing. And I have to be really organized in order for that chase not to get behind me. And what I find is that people in my other work are chasing the same thing. And so they're just as vulnerable as I am. In fact, somebody called me and asked me about one of the orders they placed. And I'm like, I can't find it. I can't find it. And I thought, there's something wrong here. They'd already placed the order. They'd already placed their thing. So I had to go somewhere else to get it. But that opens us up to, do I want to be frustrated? See if you can relate to this. Do I want to be frustrated? Do I want to look like I know what I'm doing? Or do I want to be organized? Or do I want to get mad? that happens. So we have to look at this a whole different way. And so becoming comfortable with the word vulnerable helps us to just kind of be. Just be with it, not expect anything back. We have to be friends with all parts of us. The good, the bad, the fun, the ugly. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. The other thing is that when we are vulnerable and we're in a situation with another person, is we help to open them up. We open them up so that they then can also communicate back. It's not about a one-way street. It is not about a one-way street. The key here, I put here, get out of our comfort zone. It's a comfort zone to us. But in Science of Mind, and I didn't really realize this when I came to this philosophy, but in Science of Mind, we actually practice being vulnerable all the time. You see all those words up there on the wall over there? It says abundance, balance, beauty. Those don't have any meaning to you until you actually go into them. And here, when we have a class, and that's the reason I love teaching this philosophy, is because it opens everybody up to be vulnerable. And then what happens is a lot of truth comes out, or a lot of compassion comes out, or a lot of love comes out. Because we allow each other to make a mistake. And with a mistake, there's no judgment. You'll notice there's no judgment here. We just let you be. Whoever you are, and that's okay. It's okay. We get to release. In fact, I had a conversation with somebody this week. They called me and said, I'm feeling really sad. I'm like, okay. Well, I don't want to be around my old friends. I said, okay, well, feel that. I said, but it's not a right or wrong here. It's just that you have grown, and it no longer fits. Doesn't mean you're not friends. Just means you have other kinds of friends, too. You have friends that are willing to share with you on the same path and not be afraid of what you got to say. One of the cool things about being a practitioner and a minister is that we hear everything. I've heard things I'm like, okay. But you know what? I've worked hard at healing all those things so that I could hear all of that because I'm not triggered by it. And I'm allowing that which is in front of me to be vulnerable and still love them at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that. It's always very healing. Again, back to that healing. The other thing is that in this philosophy, you have to grow. You cannot sit and wait and expect it to happen. Because Ernest Holmes says, move your feet. Move your feet. Do your part. You do your part. The universe then responds to that. Right? Am I talking to the choir here? You guys get it? You get it? Okay. So we are asking you to embrace concepts that you don't have any idea at first. At least I didn't. When I came to this, I had no idea what I was getting into. I never knew I'd be standing up here telling you all this stuff. I didn't even know how it worked. I didn't know what it meant. And I had to kind of embrace something totally different than what I was experiencing. Because at that time, 25 plus years ago, it was devastation. But somebody said something to me. I'll never forget this. I was in a class, and I was having a bad day. And it was this little tiny room, maybe about as big as that right there, that cul-de-sac right there. And all of us were sitting in chairs, like really close, right, around the corner. And I'm just like, everybody's sharing. I'm like, well, I don't really feel like sharing. And so the practitioner at the time said, well, what's going on? And I don't know, I probably told him whatever it was. You know what he did? He had everybody in the room go around and tell me what they thought about me. And it was all positive. And I left there, obviously this memory is very vivid because I left there different. I left there whole, perfect, whole, and complete. That I didn't have to change anything I was doing. I was still testing the water. I still didn't understand how this stuff worked, but I knew my life was changing. So, Science of Mind says this about wholeness, which is where we want to go with this. It says, wholeness doesn't just mean or include the things we love about ourselves or our experiences or our lives. It also includes those parts of us we would rather hide. Anybody have those? Those experiences in our lives we would rather not have, and all the messiness in between. I love that word, messiness. Yes, this is all the part of wholeness. Without this understanding of wholeness, vulnerability would not be possible. Wholeness creates the container for us to step into and live our most authentic lives, not just our Instagram lives, but our bedhead, sleepy eye lives, our puppy eyes. Wholeness is big enough for all of that. So even though I was vulnerable this morning, I think Sundays are a day I'm always vulnerable. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if my hair is perfect. It just matters I show up. I just do the work, you know? It's all that really matters. So today we're going to do something a little different. It's almost like you're in a class today. But I'm going to ask Mava to hand something to you. Oh, both of you, please, yes. Jackie, too. So we're going to hand you this. You'll need your pen today. And don't do anything. Just look at this for a moment. We're going to go through this. What I want to say while they're handing this out is, you have probably seen this in many work environments, and maybe even in a church environment or in a class. But today, the way I want you to look at it is from the viewpoint of being vulnerable. Now, for those online, this is what they're looking at. And if you want, what you can do is you can do a Control P or Command P or print screen, and that'll print out on your computer at home. Or if that's too hard, just take a piece of paper and write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 through number 8, and write down health, career, love, spirituality, family, money, fun, and friends. Just write those down. Now, why am I having you do this? And again, how many people have seen something like this? Raise your hand. Okay, great, 100%. Today it's different because I really want you to be honest with yourself. I mean, really honest with yourself. Part of, when you'll see the scale coming up on me, part of it's me. I tried to hide me, but I better be vulnerable. You guys will catch me. Is that I want you to really look at each one of these categories. And I'll tell you in a minute what to do with them. But I'm going to ask you to rate yourself and really be honest. Don't sugarcoat it. Because there's an area that I know there's an area that you want healing in. I know I have one, so we all have to have something. Okay? So you can not look at that for a moment, but I'm going to talk a little bit more and then we'll come back to this. Because you'll get to fill this out as we go along. So, today we're going to explore some different aspects of vulnerability. First is to know when you're vulnerable. And who pushes your buttons? Anybody push your buttons today? Yeah. Just a few, right? Allowing yourself to be willing to let go and embrace your full self. Did you push your buttons this morning?
I was just telling her nobody's pushed my buttons.
He's pushing his own buttons.
Oh, okay. That's good. But to embrace our full self, no matter what it looks like. It is who we are. There are times at home, what was it, last night? I'm glad they don't watch my videos. Last night, I'm trying to manage animal, dog, puppy, write a talk, put PowerPoint together, the whole thing, and watch a movie, try to be with the family. And so here I am at 9:45 doing my PowerPoint. And someone comes to me and they said, "What can I do to help you?" And I'm sitting there thinking, leave me alone. And I said it too. Oh. And I said it really loud. So not only one person heard it, but everybody heard it. And I was like, oh, God, now I got to clean that up. So I had to be my full self, right? I had to be my full self. And of which, once I got done with my PowerPoint, which wasn't really done, I ended up going in and apologizing. Had to be vulnerable, you know. And of course, that person can't hear. So then I have to talk louder. So then I really feel bad, you know. Anyway. And then the third thing we're going to talk about is opening up to possibilities. Because we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to do this. It just happens. So being vulnerable and who pushes your buttons. See, vulnerability causes us to, I'm glad I know how to say that word. That's a long word. To look at ourselves, to open up. The thing that I would like you to invite you to think about in that regard is to be gentle with yourself. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge the other person. Just know there's something happening here. I have to open up to this. I don't want to open up to this, but I need to open up to this. Be willing to observe yourself. That's part of, religious science is about taking self-responsibility. If we don't do that, nobody else will. But when we become the bigger person, guess what happens? Everybody opens up. And if they don't, then it's not your problem. You've done your part, and that's all that's asked of. The thing is, you're evolving. You're evolving your awareness. I'm trying to think of all these different points of when this has happened to me. And again, I'm going to just keep emphasizing, there was a shift. Something happened. We both gave in. There was not a fight. I could go on and on and on. It's not a one-way street. It's both ways. And if it doesn't happen, it's okay for you to be vulnerable for yourself and then back away. Back away. Give that other person time or situation time. Many, many times in church, and this happens all the time, it's a good thing, but I'll hear something that needs to happen. Now, I could just go, okay, let's go do, and you'd all be so confused you couldn't handle it. But instead, I back away, and I go, let me think about that. Let me think about that. As one minister, when I was a baby minister, said to me, if you want it today, the answer's no. If you want it in 3 days, it might be maybe. I'll never forget that. It was like, well, that has really served me well. Because that took him out of being vulnerable, but it made him think about what I wanted. And I was so enthusiastic back then. The thing about this vulnerability, when we're really into it, we understand it, we get to say what we need to say, and we hear what we need to hear, because we're an open vessel. We're not afraid of this. So let's take a look at your chart. And for those of you that are on the internet, this is kind of my chart. Kind of. Could be better. Look at all those lines. I want you just to draw a line. That's all I want you to do. Nothing else. So in your circle, draw a line where you think you are in each one of these areas. This is for you. Nobody's going to look at it. If you want to talk about it, you can. You don't have to. Just do that. I'll give you like 30 seconds to do that. Don't evaluate it. Just do it. Nike up here talking. For those of you on the internet, if you're not printing this out, you can write just the words and then put a score. So 5 would be average, 0 would be 0, 10 would be you're at the top. Okay, how are we doing? Everybody got it? Now anybody have any judgment on it? Yeah. Raise your hand. I want to see if we have judgment. Good! Yay! Stop judging it. As the t-shirt says, Rob would say, it is what it is. It just is what it is. It's not bad. It's not good. It is what it is. It's chasing that thing out in front of you, right? Okay. So don't look at the paper now. I'll keep talking. So the next step to this is to let go and embrace who you are. Look at the chart and embrace who you are. Say, I love you just the way you are. Everybody repeat that. I love you just the way you are. It's so easy to judge ourselves. Who do you think's the hardest on us? Us, ourselves, right. So it's very easy to go there. So I'm going to give you a little story that'll make you feel even better. This is a story of being a minister. I've sort of told this story before. But I'm one of those ministers that say, here's what the elephant in the room is. Okay? I'll just bring something up that nobody wants to talk about. I'm good at that. And so I was in a meeting, I don't know, a few months ago with about 40 ministers. And, when I have to say something physical happens to me. My heart starts pounding so hard, I can't hardly stand in my seat. I mean, I just can't, I got to get it out. And then when I do it, because I'm in a room of all these ministers, I really am trying to be conscious of what I say. Because I know that if I say it in a way that's, we'll say inappropriate, but how can you be inappropriate when your heart is just telling you have to say this? And it's my own judgment. It's not them judging me. It's my evaluation of who I am and what I'm trying to accomplish, right? Anyway, it's very scary and it's kind of terrifying in some ways. And even with our own lives, it's terrifying when we realize, oh, this is what's got to happen. Because for me, it was about coming up with a solution or something that would cause all of us to be, science of mind to be, or religious science, or centers for spiritual living, to be known more in the world. It was very big to me. Anyway, I had to face my insecurities at that time, and I do this a lot, so I've kind of gotten used to me. But I had to face my vulnerabilities, I had to face my pattern, I had to face the possibility I could embarrass myself. But when I did it, at the time I felt really like, ugh. And afterwards I was so, and because I wanted a solution, and my solution now has been, I want to talk to the new leadership of CSL. But the interesting thing is, as I was thinking about this morning, I came up with a solution. Because the solution usually has been that I do it. I'm not here to do it. But I can be a leader to make it happen. And that's what my position is. The reason I'm saying all of this is I had to be willing to do this. So when you're in a particular situation in all these different areas, we have to be willing. That's a door that will open us. It will open other things. And it will, if you think about, here's my thought, and here's the universe, is because what I'm trying to attract is an answer, what does the universe do? Look at my hands. It comes up with the answer. It may not be at the moment that you want it, but it will create it. Because it's the good that we're trying to create, which is really cool to know that if we want to create a solution, it is always there, but we have to be vulnerable enough and open enough to ask the question which nobody wants to ask. Does this make sense? We're on the same page? Okay, good. And sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's messy. I've gotten better at not being so messy. I'll just say that. All right, so the second part of this page is, okay, I see where I'm at. So I'm going to use me as an example because I need some balance. I know I need some balance. So I make a lot of money and I have a great career. I do this. I love doing ministry, and I have a great other job that I do. But if you notice that fun and friends are not real high, boring. And my love is lacking a little bit. I have a lot of it here, but it's it's a little tense at home sometimes. I didn't mark spirituality, that should be high. But the point I'm trying to make is I know that I need to make some shifts. I need to change some things. So you're going to get my answers here. So for health, I put, this is what I want you to do with your sheet now. But I just gave you examples so you can see. So the health is to go to the gym twice a week, not a month. Twice, that'd be really good. Eat better and less sugar. I love my chocolate. Right? Yeah, you know I do.
I'm afraid I didn't.
I know. He brings me my little candy bars. Career is to delegate more. I'm so busy right now I can barely see straight. I need to delegate. I need to figure out how to do that. Love, to be more open. Be more open at home. Spirituality, to meditate more. Family is to honor my family, opposed to think that they don't want to help. In fact, I said that to them last night. I said, well, you never asked, so I never expected you to ever say that. So, again, vulnerable. Money, just continue saving. That's what I'm doing. Have fun, have more. Have more fun. Do more fun things. And friends, to call them. Just call them. How many people have a friend that they would love to talk to, but they just say, I'm grabbing for the next thing. I can't call them. Anybody here? Yeah, we're all doing it. We're all doing it. So I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Write that, whatever your answers are, brief answers there of what you can do. I can't tell you how many times I get a break to go drive, to the store or something. I think, oh, I should call so-and-so, especially so-and-so at church. I have a lot of time, huh?
Well, you don't have a lot of time. You actually have more like this.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're not much more.
Okay.
So for those of you online, just take that sheet of paper you had 1 through 8. Just write down what are your action steps. And whatever comes to you is the right answer. It's not about trying to figure it out. Just whatever short, brief thing comes to you is the right answer. And it's not about how now. It's just about being aware. How are we doing, everybody? Got it done? Pretty much? Give you about 10 more seconds. Yeah, you get to keep this. I'd say put it on your refrigerator or someplace where you can see it. So the last part of this is about opening up to the possibilities. In the talk, they put this in there. I thought it was a very great quote. It says, allow the door of experiences to rush in. So now it's about allowing for the possibilities to take place. We've all heard the quote, one door closes, another one opens. That was the conversation I had with somebody this week. It was like, I know that one's closed, and that's hard, and it hurts. Don't just go fill it up, though. But look at what you want. Look at what's really going to fulfill you, not just, oh, I'm just going to stick another stone in there, another cog in the wheel. I'm just going to do that. No. This is the opportunity, and I think that's the other part, is there's an opportunity to create what you really want. But sometimes we don't do that. We feel this void. It reminds me of, I don't know if you've heard this story, but it reminds me of, you have a bunch of clothes, and you say, oh, I got to go buy some new clothes, right? How do you get more clothes? Anybody know?
You get rid of your old stuff.
You do what?
You get rid of your old stuff.
Right. You get rid of the old stuff.
Put it back
and you create a vacuum. I should have you come do the talk. That's very good. You create a vacuum because the vacuum has to be fulfilled. It has to fill up. So it doesn't matter if you let go of stuff. I've got stuff in I literally have a barn. I have stuff in my barn. I was up there the other night trying to find my cat. She was over in the other barn. Anyway, I have this cage because when we moved in, we knew there were varmints around. So we built this cage with really small wire, right? And it's been up there for 16 years. All that stuff I didn't need a thing out of there. So now I get to go up there and take it all out and throw it away. But what happens then is, the point is you open up to more when we get rid of the stuff that no longer serves us. The other thing, well, there's so much to this, it's just, I could talk forever about all of this, but the bottom line is we start to open ourselves up to more, whether that's love or joy or maybe sadness. We don't necessarily want to have sadness. Anybody here like having sadness? You know, when I was going through all this in the beginning of my life, I can remember being in hotel rooms and crying. And one time I said to my therapist, how long is this going to be? How long am I going to cry? She said, it takes as long as it takes. So I learned a new way of understanding those feelings. And my new way was God's tears flowing through me to get rid of those things that no longer serve me. It was a big lesson. But we have to give, again, permission, be vulnerable, give ourselves permission to do that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's really a healing thing. So we're going to become a little vulnerable, if you're willing to go with me. You have a sheet. I want you to look at your sheet, and I want you to pick one area where you want to really make a change. Just one area. And you don't have to do anything. You do it with me. Okay, you can. Anyway, circle that area. Just circle the number. And then what I want you to do, if you're willing, if it's about your spouse, you can pick somebody else to share with. Is I'd like you to find one person in the room, and I'm only going to give you like 2 minutes. So this isn't a conversation. It's to share what it is and what you're going to change. So find somebody you want to share with. So just turn around. There's somebody right behind you. There you go. And Tom, there you go. Perfect. So you got 2 minutes. Go.
Because I don't have much to say. share. Well, I gotta give you my card, because you're,
So would anybody like to share briefly?
we did, you shared.
Don't be vulnerable now.
Yeah.
Anybody want to share?
Some great music editing stuff.
You guys are, okay, that's fine.
Share?
And you can find,
Okay, Carl, we're gonna come back here, hon.
Are you
You
sharing?
can talk to
Carol?
Lynn. No, he's not.
Okay.
He's chatting. Go ahead.
I picked fun,
Thanks.
get new clothes and look on Meetup for different activities.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it got picked for a mentorship program. I'm gonna create more fun with that program too, more fun at work, so it's going, two areas I picked.
Great, good.
One
Okay.
source, and that'll take care of both of them.
That's right. Anybody else?
we did talk about the same thing, which is family.
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, I can expand my family by getting another Reverend Suzette.
That's a good
It's sweet.
Yeah, I'm in a great family.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the tail that the dog wags in my family.
Oh, I see,
Oh.
now you said the same thing.
This is what you're in.
Yeah. Good for you.
Thanks.
Good. This isn't easy stuff, and just identifying, it's not about how trying to figure it out. It's like today when I was like, how am I going to figure out this CSL question? And what it is, so you understand, is that I think that what we do is really amazing. I mean, every single church does the same thing in the sense of we're all here as a healing center. But we don't tell anybody about it. We don't have any memes out there. It's just scattered. And so my thought was, that came to me this morning was, because I thought, well, we can have our memes and they can use us. I thought, why not get as many, at least 5 churches in the whole country with individuals like people like Maba who are just, very talented, and we all just share our stuff. And we find a place where we can host that and people can pull from it and then they can put their own name on it. Who cares, right? Who cares? It's just about getting the word out and doing it in a way that it's organized, and then people can select from 100 different memes that they want to use for the month. It's that simple. Sounds like a big project, but it's not if you organize it properly. So, anyway, that was what came to me this morning. Thank you, God. All right, so we're going to end with this. We're almost there. Ernest Holmes says this: always there is an inner, quiet, persistent confidence, a non-resistant but complete acceptance, an outward flowing in the stream of life, knowing that it carries me safely and surely to my destination and to the accomplishments of every good purpose. So, again, it's not about judgment. It's not about how. It's about, I want to get there. Be open to the possibility of getting there. And you may bump a few roads, things or rocks or holes or potholes or whatever along the way. But don't let it stop you. I love the analogy of a athlete, that's going to go to the Olympics. Their vision is to do whatever speed they're going to do or going to run. And then it's about, okay, let me visualize this going in that way. When we just move in the direction of the thing we want to change, the universe responds to us, period, end of story. You don't have to figure it out. You just keep moving slowly in the direction you want to go, period. So, I just want you to remember that. Remember, vulnerability is a good word. It's a loving word. It's an open word. And you don't have to be vulnerable to everything, but the things that are important in your life. The thing that you circle today is what's important in your life. So just shift a little bit in that direction and see what happens. Are you willing to do that? Yes. Okay, good. How about you online? Are you willing to do it? Give me a thumbs up online. Just a thumbs up, at the bottom of your screen. Nobody wants to do it online. Okay. No, there's probably going to be a delay. There's a thumbs up. I saw something there. There's a thumb. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Oh, it's even moving. I love that. Thumbs moving. Oh, they've changed that.
Three of them are thumbs.
Three thumbs. Okay, 3 thumbs up. Oh, 4.
Okay,
Give me 5. Give me 5. I love it. I love it. So that's the point here. Is give yourself the opportunity to move that. So we're gonna do the. There's 5. Oh, I got 5. Yay.
Yay.
5. Good job, you guys.
Stephanie gets
Oh, I got a
the-
heart too. I like that one.
Smiley, yeah.
Thanks, thank you, Stephanie. All right, so we're gonna do our affirmation, and I'm gonna close this out and have TJ back up here. He's really good, isn't he? Yeah, he's amazing. What I love is it's you're homegrown, you know, you're personal, so we can relate to what you're talking about. Yeah. So here's our affirmation, and I thought it was really long, but it has a lot of meaning. So let's try and say it together. How's the boy doing? Is he still sleeping? He's still sleeping. That's great. He may become my church dog. Yay. Okay, you ready? Let's do this together. My willingness to be vulnerable opens myself up to love, joy, sadness, heartbreak, and all the things in between, creating expanding space to live and grow. That's a lot to say. It's a lot to take. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, and I'm going to pray this into our week, and to know that as we come together to learn about vulnerability, knowing that the divine moves in and as and through every part of our life, every breath that we take, there's something greater happening. And so everywhere we go, we are safe. We are safe in our heart and safe in our ways and safe in the creative ability of the divine to move through us. And so I know as we move along this next week, remembering these things that we've learned today, that Spirit is moving through us, and everything that happens is on purpose. And there's no force, there's nothing to make it happen, but it just happens as a result of our consciousness. And so I bless all of us today that have been willing to hear these words, been willing to show up, been willing to be online, been willing to just go, okay, let me think about this. Let me think, how do I put this in my life? And so with that, I'm just grateful for the willingness to be vulnerable, the willingness to love oneself, and the willingness to know that they're being guided by something greater than themselves. And so with that, I just give great thanks. I know this is truth, and we're going to move this into our week. And we release it into the law of mind and love of self and love of others, knowing that it's all right. And join me in saying, and so it is. And so we are. And let's bring back TJ. Yeah. I'm going to tag you as Mr. Homegrown.
I'll take it.
All right.
That was so powerful and so necessary for me, for my heart. And once again, it's funny, Sylvia, and I changed the song. It rarely, I always come here with a plan, and then then God says, hey, you know what? Yeah. You thought you had a plan, but then I was just moved, I'm moved by the words and by the feels. So I was inspired to be vulnerable, and this song is about as vulnerable as I've written, so I just kind of felt the need to share it. It came from a place of breaking apart. My heart was broken, and sort of my identity at the time was broken because I was I was in a relationship, and it was in a band actually with two of my best friends, and that came apart, and we were in a three-way monogamous sort of what's the word? We were codependent. We were in a codependent relationship, the three of us. And so when it broke apart, my heart just broke, but also my identity. I didn't know who I was without these people in my life. And they didn't leave my life, but we went our separate ways. And so I had to rebuild, my identity apart from them. And it took a long time, but this was the first thing that I had the courage to write after that. And so I just was called to share it with you today. Did you hear about the one that got away? Did you find the words you didn't want to say? There's truth behind every lie you've ever told before. So let it go. Did you miss the boat and blame it on the rain? Did you find love and let it slip away? There's blue behind every sky you've ever seen before. The wind will blow. Was there a time when you were young, when you didn't know the meaning of give up, when love was blind and life was full of color? There's another waiting for you. Did you ever spend a lonely holiday with nothing to distract you from the pain? The voice inside will always try to open up the door. So let it grow. Was there a time when you were young, when you didn't know the meaning of give up, when love was blind and life was full of color? Has another taken hold of you? Did you think that you were destined to this fate? Do you realize it was always worth the wait? There's love behind every eye you've looked into before. So let it show. And let it grow. And let it go.